So it's a special message for the people of Liverpool. We've played here a few times and it's always a great pleasure whenever we get a request to play here. I'm always excited. I particularly wanted to come for this one because it's always a really good party with nice people up for a good time, wholehearted people. I love it. Mungo's Hi-Fi started in 2000 as Mungo's Hi-Fi. There were a few of us at the time putting on monthly club nights and playing out in bars, and it's carried on since then. And so Tom and I started it, and Craig joined us soon after. We were doing weekly nights called Dub and Grub where we made food and played reggae, and he came down and joined us there, and we have worked together since. And then Jerome joined us as well, looking after the sound side of things, and then just recently James has joined us as well and is working with us full time, has been for over a year now. Yeah. The UK reggae scene's been through a lot of changes in its time, and where to even start? There's so many threads to it. Obviously the Jamaican community where it all started, which obviously impacted on the wider British music scene even back in the 70s, and then through the 80s to some extent that probably the influence on the mainstream kind of tailed off, and then it translated through the 80s into something that both black and white people were doing, and the first white sound systems started popping up in the 80s. And I mean, I don't really want to characterise them as white sound systems, but non-exclusively black sound systems, I guess. And then the sound developed. You had the whole steppers movement in the 90s, also kind of feeding off other, like, probably techno sound systems, free party vibes kind of getting in on the scene in that way. And that was where my first experiences of sound systems came from. Although obviously the foundation figures were still around, people like Shaka, and is still around. And then, but then the Jamaican part of the influence, the 80s rubber dub and digital movement, and then the 90s dancehall, and then since then the kind of more bashment dancehall, more American influenced. That Jamaica lost its pivotal role in reggae music, and in a way I feel that the centres moved more to Europe. I think there's much more happening in the world of reggae music as such in Europe now necessarily than there is in Jamaica, and certainly where there's big crowds for that. And every corner of the world has a slightly different take on it. America's different again, but there the sound system culture has never really taken off in a big way. The dancers are still really small now. So yeah, I'm happy to be living in Europe where things are so vibrant, and I think where people from all over the world are very much watching and taking note of what's happening, and then that is also going out to every conceivable corner now, to Brazil and India and Australasia, Japan, China, and even back to America, and even in Jamaica. I think now people are probably taking notice of some of what's happening. You go for it.
I don't think it's any more appreciated in the UK than in other countries, but maybe more accepted by the mainstream. Like it's more ingrained in the culture in Britain. You know, you've got sound system dances running from the 60s and stuff in London, and even things like David Rodigan getting an MBE from the Queen. You know, I read that he's seen that as the state kind of accepting reggae as part of the culture, whereas when you look at Europe comparatively, then it's a more underground thing. So I wouldn't say it means it's more popular or more accepted, but maybe more ingrained in kind of mainstream culture. You had a lot of reggae chart music and stuff here, and right up to the 80s and even the 90s as well.
Went up on the tick like Mars. Went up on the tick like Mars. Went up on the tick yellow. Went up on the tick yellow. Went up on the tick like Mars. Went up on the tick like Mars. Went up on the tick like Mars. Went up on the tick yellow. Went up on the tick yellow. Went up on the tick like Mars.
What about bye we buzz the place tonight? What do call it? What about bye we buzz the place tonight? Call the tune that must play a them appear special. Mungo's I fire in your area, around themself.
Well, girl, you wind up in a Indian song, like we are girl on the Jamaica moon. She call